Welcome back to part 5 of how to swap a supercharged 3800 into your Chevy S10 or any rear-wheel drive car for that matter. So this is a very important episode. Usually when I talk in the beginning of an episode and I'm like, oh, if you don't care what I'm about to say, just skip to this timestamp, and then I'll put the timestamp up and then people skip ahead. This time I'm not going to do that because the information I'm about to go over is so important. So we're actually going to start with the most important part of this swap, and that is the flywheel. The flywheel is probably going to be the biggest holdup for anyone doing this project. On the supercharged 3800s that in North America we only got front wheel drive and automatic, they are externally balanced, which means your flex plate has a giant weight on it to help with the balance of it, of course. I believe the harmonic balancer in the front also has a weight, or is at least weighted. And so, if you buy a 4th gen Camaro flywheel and bolt that on, those are neutrally balanced because the 4th gen Camaro V6s only came naturally aspirated, thus making them internally balanced. So if you get a neutrally balanced flywheel and bolt it onto here, you're going to destroy your engine. Now, I have heard of a few times where people didn't balance it and they just put a neutrally balanced flywheel onto their externally balanced engine, and they said they haven't had any problems yet. I don't want to take that risk. So I contacted a local machine shop and I said, hey, I have my original flex plate that I can very clearly see the weight on. Let me grab that quick. So this is the original flex plate to this car. And here you can see a giant weight right there. That is the weight. So I contacted the machine shop and I explained to them in specific detail. I said, hi, I have a externally balanced engine with a weighted flex plate, and I need to put a flywheel that is neutrally balanced on. Can you just take the weight offset of this, whatever needs to be, however you do that, and apply it to my flywheel? And they said no, because they were like, if you are going to be balance matching something, you have to take anything that moves in that engine out and basically have it balanced. So they said you need the flywheel, you need the crankshaft, the pistons, the rods, and the front harmonic balancer, plus like basically all the bolts and hardware, so they can all balance that. Which is kind of true, but kind of. If I was building a crazy high revving, high power, if I was building a high power, high revving, high horsepower engine, then yeah, in that case you would want to balance everything. But I'm not. I'm just building a supercharged 3800 to go in a Corvair on an S10 frame. So you don't have to do that. So then I contacted a actual professional engine building place that they were located about an hour away from me. And they were like, yeah, we'll be able to get you taken care of. Come on over, bring the flex plate, bring the flywheel. So we went over there. Turns out one of my friends from high school works there. So he was able to like kind of hook us up. And I explained to him and his coworker, again, in great detail of what I'm doing. And they said, it doesn't really work that way. And I was like, what do you mean? And basically, they were like, it's not going to work the way you want it to, because they showed me the flywheel, right? This is a flex plate. On the flywheel, there was no weight here, but there was a thin, big weight that went all the way around here. And they said that, they said, let's say you needed a new flex plate, and you bought a brand new flex plate. You bought 3 of them, let's say. None of them are going to be perfectly balance matched to this original flex plate. They said it's all going to be within factory tolerance, which makes sense. So the guy said, I would recommend just bolting your unbalanced flywheel to your engine, and that should be within factory tolerance. So we drove an hour one way to go to this professional engine building place for them to basically tell me, just bolt your flywheel on, you should be good. Which, yeah, I guess, but I didn't want to take that risk because I had heard stories of people who bolted a unbalanced flywheel on and it destroyed their engine, literally destroyed their engine because someone told them to do the exact same thing. So then I was stuck in the water and I was like, I need to find someone who can professionally balance match this and knows exactly what they're doing. So I hopped over to a Facebook page where it's all 3800 supercharged 3800 Fiero swaps. And I found a guy named Fiero Rodgers, and he is the go-to guy for doing exactly what I need. He is literally world-renowned for balance matching 3800 flywheels. He has customers all over the world, which is crazy. It's awesome. So I end up finding Rodgers' contact information. I send him a text, we end up calling each other, and we're talking on the phone, and I'm explaining exactly what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I can balance you a flywheel and ship it to you. Where are you located? And I told him where I'm located, and he was like, hey, you're actually in my neck of the woods. Why don't you just come over to my house, bring your flywheel, and I'll balance match it for you right there. So this Roger guy who's like world renowned for balancing these flywheels. He has customers literally all over the entire world. And he's right in my backyard, basically. So my dad and I grabbed my flywheel, which he said that's all he needed. Now, Roger has asked me not to share the process of how he did it to protect industry secrets, which I totally understand. So I'm not going to explain how he did it, because he asked me not to. But what I will say is it was really cool to watch. And so we go over there and we hang out, and he's a huge car guy, and we just click, and now we're friends. So that's awesome. And so he ends up balancing my flywheel perfectly. I mean, I assume perfectly. I haven't started the car yet, but I'm going to assume it was perfectly. But he told me to tell you guys, the viewers, that for $200, yes, $200, he will balance match a flywheel and ship it to you anywhere in the United States for $200, which is a very good deal. So you're probably wondering, how do I contact this Fiero Rodgers? So I'm currently editing the video that you are watching, and I was talking about how to contact Fiero Rodgers. And he said his phone number, and so I was about to like say his phone number, and I was like, I'm gonna message him quick just to make sure that his phone number is the best way to reach him. And he said yes, so now I'll put his phone number up on screen. And then I never finished recording the intro to this. I just kind of went immediately into the clutch install. So just to wrap this up, the most important takeaway from the first 7 minutes and 25 seconds of this video is you have to balance your flywheel. Okay? Yeah, so there's that. You have to balance your flywheel. So contact Roger, that's his name, Fiero Roger, and go from there, get in contact with him. I don't think I even finished up with the part of the video where I said what I was using. I'm using a 1995 Chevy S10 transmission. You have quite a few options. If you're going with automatic, you can really go with any GM automatic transmission you want. You just have to get an adapter plate. I think Speedway sells it for right about $70. You can get an adapter plate. As far as the transmissions, you do have a few options. You can go with like a 94 to 95 S10 transmission. As a matter of fact, you could probably go any S10 transmission as long as it was the 5-speed with the 2.2 engine that has the same bell housing pattern. Or you could even go with like a 4th gen Camaro or Firebird transmission as well. And then if I'm not mistaken, the transmission, the T5 transmission, Ford also built T5 transmissions. And so as long as you use a 94 or 95 2.2 liter 5-speed bell housing, you can find a Ford transmission from a Mustang, and that will fit right up to the bell housing of the the S10, and that way you can run a higher horsepower setup that the transmission will hold up to, because I think the S10 transmissions are only really rated for right about like 310 foot-pounds, so not too crazy if you ask me. So just kind of do your own research. I totally forgot to keep filming that because I got distracted. And yeah, so there's some more information for you. All right, this is I'll be honest with you guys, this has not been the greatest or most productive day. I spent about 3 hours looking for the flywheel bolts, and then I just got done torquing up all the oil pan bolts because I snapped one a long time ago, so I had to get a replacement bolt. So I just redid all those. It's just not been very productive. So we can finally get to putting on the flywheel, but before we do that, we need to install the pilot bushing. Now, because this is originally an automatic car, it didn't have a pilot bushing, so we don't have to worry about removing the pilot bushing. I was so convinced that I was going to have the clutch installed last week that I put my pilot bushing in the freezer, and I forgot about it. So my pilot bushing has been in the freezer, to shrink it, of course, for the past 8 days. So I think we start with getting that installed first. All right, so this is a 15 millimeter socket. There's the pilot bushing, nice and icy cold, and it fits perfectly on there. Now, I'm not going to grab that with my bare hands because the moment you touch it, it's going to start expanding. Ta-da! That was actually pretty easy. So I have it to right there. I don't know how deep it needs to be, so I'm going to leave it there, because if it needs to go in deeper, I can pound it in a little easier, but if it needs to come out more, that's much harder to do. So we're going to leave it there for now. That was super easy. Yeah, I would say you could probably leave that in for a couple hours. You don't need to leave it in there for a week. Keep in mind, I only did that because I forgot it was there. So there's that. Now, for the not fun part. There is the part number. You can see that, 24505092. These are the bolts that we're going to be using. And here's the flywheel that does need to be cleaned up yet, because it's oily. Obviously, I just touch it with my hand. All right, it is the next day after that unfortunate accident. The good news is I don't think it's broken, but yeah, still really hurts, and yeah, that sucked. Anyway, just, you know, be careful. I would say it was a stupid accident, which it was, but it was also like, I don't know, just be careful. Those things are really heavy. Anyway, good news, my local O'Reilly's had a throwout bearing for a Chevy S10. They also had this torque angle gauge, which comes with another sticker. That's pretty cool. It comes with this like magnet if you want to do that, or this here. So you just tighten up the screw and you set the point to 0, and then you just tighten it to 50. So we still need to find out how that goes on, and so I'm going to jack the engine up, and then instead of doing what I was doing yesterday, we'll find out how exactly that goes on, and then we can start bolting that on. Alright, just like that, it's on. It only goes on one way, so just kind of keep rotating it until you find the way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some, I think it's blue Loctite on here. I think blue Loctite. And then I'm just going to zip them all down. Not even snug, just zip them down, and then we'll set the engine back down. We are going to torque them to 11 foot-pounds and then 50 degrees. So that's how we're going to do that. And obviously go in a star pattern, you know? So let me do that quick. Okay, as you can see, we got those all on there like that, and I did not go brrrr with the impact. I literally just got them snug. So that is they are a 14 millimeter head bolt. So now we're going to grab my brand new torque wrench. I wish it was a digital one, but the digital ones are so expensive. This 3/8 one was only like 20 bucks. So that's what we're rocking with. That is a-okay though. Now, there's one other thing, is I bet you when we go to do this, the whole flywheel is going to turn. Or at least if that doesn't turn, when we go to do the 50 degrees, it will turn. Just like that. That's all we got to do, which does not seem like enough. So we're going to go here, here, right there. So once again, we just did this one, so that'll be 1, this one, yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so 1 through there. Oh, right there, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ah, man, that does just not feel like enough. And I know we have to twist them to now 50 degrees, but I mean, come on, that does not seem like enough. So, alright, let me get my thing set up, and then I think I can take like a wrench and kind of lock this into place so it doesn't twist on me. Alright, as you can see, I just took a curved wrench here, and then just put a bell housing bolt in, and then put it on a locking pin, so she shouldn't move anymore. So we'll put him back on 2, redo this guy, set him to 0, and then interestingly, even before I start moving it, it moves to like 10 degrees, so there's a little bit of play in this. So I'd say get it to right as the bolt's about to turn, and then lock her in at 0, and go to 50, just like that. Okay, I think you guys get the point, so I'm going to stop recording now. Alrighty, so here are the bolts that I got from like a Tractor Supply store. They are 10.9 grade. I don't know what to torque them down to, because I saw someone say like 19 pounds. I saw some other people say 65 pounds. And then my friend Chris said that he just took an impact and, quote, ugga-dugga them down. And he hasn't had any problems with his. So I'm really not sure what to torque these to. So anyway, we'll get all this kind of set up and going, and I'll do some research. But I've seen a lot of people say, like, oh, you torque them to like 19 or 25 pounds and then an additional 45 degrees. Like, nobody has a straight answer for what these are supposed to be torqued to. Alrighty. Got the clutch on here. You know, in retrospect, I wish I would have found a different clutch, the one with the springs in it, you know, that is a little bit nicer, more forgiving to you, if that makes sense. And I found one, but it's like, it was double the price of this. So we're going to rock the 6-puck clutch without the springs. See how I like that. We're getting ready to bolt on the flywheel. I have found so many different answers about what you torque these to. I don't know. I'm going to torque them down to 35. Use blue Loctite and we'll see what happens. Also, it doesn't look like this. It doesn't look like this matters which way this goes on. It fits every single way. So just bolt it on and hope for the best. Kind of forgot to film a little bit. All I did was put this on, and then I ran the bolts down with a impact gun, just doing crisscross patterns. Keep in mind this is a spring, so you kind of had to walk it on. So now we're going to tighten these down to 35 foot-pounds of torque, and blue Loctite. I did do blue Loctite. Got her all done. I'm going to go around one more time just in a circle pattern, make sure they're all good, and then I'll take a paint marker and I'll mark those. But this Ooh, damn. This slides in and out. This slides in and out. A little resistance, but whatever. So, actually, we'll just leave him in there for now. So, now for the not fun part, which I don't even know if I'll be able to get to today, but now we have to trim up the transmission. We have to cut the shaft here that the throwout bearing rides on, because if not, it will like press up against the forks or the tines or the springs or whatever, and it will basically keep the engine engaged, and you won't be able to put it out of gear. We ended up getting the bell housing off. It's my garage is a mess right now, I'm sorry, but we got the bell housing off. It's 4 bolts, 15mm head bolts, and then I took a dead blow or rubber mallet and just kind of beat it off. It was stuck on there, but we got it off. And then I contacted Mason, who I've talked about plenty of times before, and he said this is a problem you're going to run into, is the shaft here that the throwout bearing rides on is going to be too long, and it's going to force your clutch forward. It's going to press up against the face of the splines here, and it's going to force it forward. So even if you have your clutch down and you have it in gear, when you go to start it, it is going to basically keep your clutch engaged, and it's going to push your car forward. You're going to start moving forward. So he said what you're going to have to do is take the bell housing off and bolt it to the engine block, like so. Then you take a tape measure, and it's hard to do one-handed, but you basically take the edge of the tape measure and you put it on where the splines of the input shaft go, right on that, and you measure where the face of the bell housing is, measure there on the tape measure. Then you measure the face of the transmission and measure to the edge, or the end of the shaft here, right? Is that all making some sense? So I had my dad come out and help me, and basically we held a tape measure, and then we got something flat, thin and flat, to rest perfectly up against here, and we measured it, and this distance is 4 inches and 7/16. So 4 and 7/16 inches, okay? The distance from the face in here to the edge of here is 4 1/4. So, I wrote on the hood of my car, so what we do, you can barely see it, 4 and 7/16 minus 4 1/4 is 3/16. So, in a perfect world, I could just cut off 3/16 of this shaft perfectly, cut it perfectly, and everything would be awesome. But it's probably not a perfect world, and I'm probably going to have to give myself another 1/16 of an inch, which another 1/16 of 3/16 would then become a quarter. Okay, there's 4 13mm head bolts on this, and this comes out, but please, oh my god, be so careful, because you have a gasket in here, something there, and then you have the bearings there, and you do not want to pull those out. And then you can also see the gears there and everything and all that, blah blah blah. You just don't want to screw anything up, because then you have to basically rebuild your transmission. So yeah, if you can get this out and just be so careful, do that instead. So I'll get this cleaned up, and we'll mark 3/16, and because I have this off, I will easily be able to cut this with a bandsaw. So let's do that. Okay, we got her taped up, marked off. Now we take a bandsaw and just oh so slowly and carefully cut this. So that will be fun. Alright, I'm probably not going to film that just because I just need to focus on cutting it. Okay, bandsaw cut through that like it was butter. It's giving it the effect that I didn't cut it straight, but that's because the blue duct tape underneath is not on it straight. But I think I got that pretty dang straight. I think, maybe, I don't know, who knows, not me. So I guess we'll take the tape off. Okay, in retrospect, I didn't get it as straight as I should have. You can see it's got a little bit of an angle there. Next time I would probably just use a angle grinder with a cutoff wheel and then just score it all the way around. But I think I got it pretty flat, and if not, I can just get a file on it and file it pretty flat. So I think I'll be okay. It's not like this being at a slight, oh so like 1 degree angle is gonna hurt anyone. So we'll get this put back on, and we'll see what happens. Let's see what happens. I don't know. Who knows what's gonna happen? Not me. Got the transmission on. That sucked. Especially, you know, I hurt my finger, so it was kind of hard to lift that. And okay, now we need a flashlight so we can see inside. What's gonna suck is if it's like perfect, like everything's perfect and I don't need to cut it anymore. I still have to take it off to put in the clutch fork and the throwout bearing. So like I still have to go through all that work. Not to mention the transmission is just disgusting. So I kind of want to clean it, but man, okay. Let me get a flashlight and we'll see how good of a job I did cutting. Alright, so it was almost basically impossible to somehow get a camera up inside here and show you. I think I got a picture I will put up on screen and kind of show you what it looks like. But yeah, as you can see, not a lot of space. So I'm gonna go roughly a 1/16 of an inch or maybe an 1/8 of an inch, just a little bit more. And I don't think I'll have any problems, just as long as this doesn't go past the forks on the pressure plate. I think I'll be good. So yeah, so we're gonna unbolt this and we'll cut that down a little bit, and then hopefully that should be it. Okay, it is the next day. As you can see, we got that trimmed up, and a lot of you are probably noticing just how beat up this this is called your front bearing retainer is. And you're right, it is. I ordered a new one last night. You guys are not going to be able to see that. We got the transmission like fully mounted with the throwout bearing and the fork, and then I literally could not see because the throwout bearing and the fork were in the way. So that was awesome. But you guys aren't going to be able to see, but I think we got it. I think we got it. So now we just have to wait for the new one to show up. And yeah, and then one other thing I did is I mounted the starter. There it is. One thing that I'm realizing on this engine is just about every hole, like even the exhaust manifold holes, stuff like that, the starter bolt holes are so filthy. So any bolt that I've put in, even engine mount bolts, I've had to chase with like a tap and die. So I re-tapped the holes, just cleaned them out, and then I got a thread chaser on the bolts. But the starter is mounted. I don't think I'm going to have any interference issues with the engine mount. So it's been a few days. We got my new front bearing retainer off eBay. This was like 25 bucks or something. And I wasn't going to replace it. However, when I put the brand new throwout bearing on it, it has like no wiggle on it. But when I put it on the other one, it just wiggles like crazy. So I'm going to take this one off, and then I'm going to take it up to my local hardware store, and they said they could chuck it in their lathe and get a perfect 1/4 inch cut off of this. So that's what we're going to do quick. And then this was like the last piece to the puzzle that we can put on, and then everything is done. We just got to bolt everything together, make sure it's all torqued down, and the transmission install is done. So let's get that taken off quick, and then we'll get this cut down. There is one problem that I did not think of, and there's a rubber gasket in here. This one does not have it, and I need it today. So I'm hoping either one of my local auto parts store would have one, or I can somehow get this out and reuse it. It looks good, no damaging or anything, so I think it might be like glued in or press fit or something. But so we got just 1/4 inch tape here. I just marked to the top of it. As you can see, I did go right below the bevel. That's just honestly to just give me the extra little bit of room, and then I'll add that bevel back with like a file. Okay, so I forgot to order. I didn't forget because I didn't know. But the seal in here, it is called the input shaft seal, right there. Part number for you. This is just on Rock Auto. This is GM Genuine 89059435. I called O'Reilly's, Napa, some local dealerships. None of them had this on. And as I'm talking to the one guy, I end up getting this one out of the old one. And all I did is I just took a screwdriver and ever so carefully got it out. Now, usually I wouldn't recommend reusing a seal, but tomorrow's the 4th of July. Most stores are probably going to be closed Friday. So I wouldn't get this until next week. So I'm just going to install this and hope for the best. So argue about it in the comments. It does look like I need a very thin coat of RTV around here based off of the RTV that was there. So we'll do that and we'll get this installed. Alright, we're going to wrap this video up. We are done. I don't think I filmed. When was the last time I filmed? I think it was right before I cut the new one of these. So we just cut that, really took our time with the angle grinder, and then I kind of gave it a little bit of a bevel with the with a file, and then we put on that. We reused the bearing, or not the bearing, the seal, the front seal there, and then. There was a bunch of RTV on this one, so I just took some RTV and did a nice coat around here, and then around the bolt holes as well, because that looks like those holes went right into the case. So, you know, don't want any transmission fluid leaking. So that, bolted that on, and then we took some wheel bearing grease. We just kind of greased up everything. The manual said we can use that. So we just greased up the proper areas around the throwout bearing where it rides on, and then that pivot bolt where the fork attaches to. And then we just put everything together, and then I didn't torque down the bolts on the bell housing because I couldn't find a torque spec, so I just took some blue Loctite and got them really tight. So hopefully that's good enough. And yeah, it shifts. Of course, we won't know. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap up the video now because I just need to finish this video. I'm not even done filming the intro. I guess the important takeaway from this video is the importance of balance matching your flywheel. If you don't want to balance match your flywheel and just try risking it, like, by all means go ahead, but I personally wouldn't. So I would just contact Fiero Rodgers. He's a really cool guy. He's a huge car guy through and through. I'll put his contact info up on screen. So I would try messaging him, and I'm sure he'll be able to get you hooked up with what you need. With that being said, we're going to wrap it up. The engine is finally ready to go back in the car. All I have to do is finish welding up the engine mounts, and then the engine is officially in the car, so that's super exciting. Just another shout out to my friend Mason. I'll put his contact info up on screen, because if this is a project that interests you and there's any questions that I'm just not capable of answering, you can shoot Mason an email at his email up on my screen. Really smart, knowledgeable guy when it comes to this specific swap. He has helped me quite a bit. He actually helped me with the having to cut down this shaft here, and that was actually the other important takeaway, is cutting this shaft. So he helped me with that. So thank you, Mason, for that. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up the video. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I love reading the comments. It's my favorite part of every video. And the next part will be mounting the engine, building the engine mounts, and then after that, it should be wiring. I'm hoping by the end of the wiring video, I can bump just bump my starter and see if the starter engages. So really hoping for that. So that is hopefully happening here in 2 videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Woo! Woo!